Oh, it helps to take the lens cap off.
Yeah, somehow I read that out.
Okay. Well, let me see. I'll have to just put Kathy, I'm going to have to put Kathy out of the picture.
That's right, you don't need me.
I'll just do Inez.
I was born in Santa Rosa.
That's basically what I want you to tell me.
I was born at 100-something College Avenue, which is under the freeway now. And I grew up in Williams.
Look at the camera.
No, that's okay.
Oh, you don't have one?
Yeah, I got it on, but I mean, she can look at you because she's talking to you. And
I
he goes,
have to look at her when I talk to
yeah,
her.
you do. Oh, that's okay.
And
She'll look at me every once in a while.
then at the age of 15, you want this in there?
Yeah.
I told my father to go to hell and walked out the door.
That's what I like about you, Inez. That's that spirit. It is so great.
And I walked up to my grandmother's house, which was 14 plus 7 miles. I walked in the door. She looked at me and said, "Have you had anything to eat?" I said, "No." She fed me. And she said, "Have you come to stay?" And I said, "Yes."
Was this in Santa Rosa?
No, this was in Colusa, on the east side in Colusa, up almost between Princeton and Colusa. And so the next day, my aunt took me to the high school in Colusa, enrolled me, and I stayed with them until I graduated. And then the Colusa High School is now, I think, it's not a museum. It's something or other. It's no longer a high school. It's a new one. And then I went to Alda Bates and went in training. Graduated from there. Then took another extension. At that time, it only took 28 months to get an RN or certificate. And so I went over to the city and county and did my 8 months over there in OB and GYN. And at that time, it was the height of the Depression, and I went down to register in registry in San Francisco. It cost $5. Oh no, wait a minute. I'm back up. I already did. It cost $5 to take the state board. And then, let's see what happened. Oh, then there were 200 ahead of me. So they said there was really no point in registering. So then, I'm still forgetting. I took the state board, and it also cost $5 to take it. And I wasn't going to tell anybody at home to get the $5 because my sister had taken it, and I thought if I flunked it, I'd never live it down.
Pure pressure.
But anyhow, my other sister was a lab technician at St. Francis Hospital, and she gave me the $5, told me I wouldn't have to pay it back if I passed. So anyhow, I passed, and I called home and shocked my aunt and grandmother by the fact that I had already taken it and passed and everything. So then I went down to the registry, and that was when I was 200 ahead of me. And my other sister was a nurse in Grass Valley. So I went to Grass Valley, and I worked there, and got married there, got divorced there, and I was head nurse at the memorial in Marysville. And I went into the Army from there because the people that owned the hospital were alcoholics, and they were always at me to have a drink. And I couldn't and work. And so then anyhow, I got tangled up with the Army and going with a captain that was he was a major, a doctor from Beale. And anyhow, I joined the Army. I was sworn in at the luncheon with the officers, and I went to war. I joined it basically to get out of California. I spent 2.5 years in Camp Roberts.
Which is in California.
I met
I drove by there.
yeah. I met my husband on a blind date, and after a couple months, we decided we either had to get married or get a divorce because we weren't getting, or break it up because we weren't getting any sleep. And so we both got leave, and we went to Reno and got married. Mm-hmm. And then when we got out of the service, it took us a month to get back to Des Moines, because that was where he was from. Then we came back to California. We stopped in Denver overnight and stayed there for about 3 or 4 months. Anyhow, my father was killed, and we came back to California. And then I guess we went back to Iowa again. He went to law school, and he worked in Bancroft Whitney, and I played around. A couple of spinal fusions later, I was completely retired. Then I just played around, did nothing. Then when he retired, we came up to bought in Bachelor Valley, and bought here. And right now I'm in the process of selling everything and moving back down to a retirement home in Watsonville. That's my history. Goodbye now.
Tell us the story of getting your first driver's license. I like that story.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if Donna's heard it or not.
I don't know if I have or not either.
Well, I guess I was 14, and a bunch of the kids in high school, when it came time to get a driver's license, the deputy sheriff would come over from Colusa and interview the kids that were going to have their license. And so I went with them, knowing nothing about how to drive or anything else. And the deputy kicked his feet up on the desk and asked a couple of questions, passed us all. And it cost 2 bits to get a driver's license at that time.
You hadn't even sat behind the wheel yet, huh?
And it was a permanent license.
Oh my gosh.
And that lasted until I was in the service, and then they revoked those and issued us the ones that we have today.
Mm. That's quite a story.
Quite an easy way to get a driver's license.
I guess.
Yeah. I knew nothing about it. Okay, what else do you want to know?
What do I want to know?
Uh-huh.
How about if you tell us what you know about the White family, or how about a childhood memory? Do you have a favorite childhood memory? A blue dress or a toy or anything?
My childhood was not worth it.
Was it like drudgery, a lot of work, or?
My father was, I suppose he was mentally ill, but he would go on streaks of being a raving maniac. And,
So you had to walk on eggshells around him or something?
No, you just disappeared.
Oh.
And he would disappear. And, one time I called the sheriff on him, but nobody backed me up. And he'd be violent. I've seen him just take a screwdriver and pat it through the radiator of a car. And
that was more common. I'm sure it's still happening today, too.
People
couldn't hold their tempers very well.
Today, I guess my mother would never have done anything because apparently she loved him. And my grandfather.
What was his last name? What's your maiden name?
Jeffreys.
Okay.
Is Jeffreys.
Okay.
And he was born in Wales. Came over around the Horn when he was 7 years old or something like that. At least
that's the story.
That's the story I know. And the 4 of us, I was his pet for some reason, and I was the only one that got to come back on breaks from school. And he.
What does that mean? From breaks from school? Where did you go? Where did you go to school?
This one was in Elder Bates in training.
Oh, okay.
My oldest sister went to Mills College, and my grandfather said that if he sired such a useless piece of humanity, that it was his responsibility to see that we got an education. So he educated every one of us.
Oh.
He was very, his big belief was you better be educated.
Oh, he's right.
And but I don't know why, and I don't know any of the details, but my oldest sister lived with them, with my grandparents, from the time she was 6 years old. And whether it's molestation or what, I don't know. But
something happened, huh?
Something, and so you see why my childhood wasn't the greatest.
Your grandfather paid for education for all of the girls.
All 4 of us. Yeah, all 3 of us.
And you went into the medical fields. What about your brother? What kind of a field did he go into?
He ended up in the air as a pilot. And he flew in World War II. And then after World War II, he did some of the convoys over to some of the Africa, somewhere around. And then he retired. And he was quite a woman's man. My sister-in-law, they owned a place in Los Gatos. And one of the women he wanted to marry. And so my sister-in-law told him that if he'd sign over the deed to the house, that she'd give him a divorce. He signed the deed like a stupid, but she said, "Sorry, boy, I've got it." And then he went to Oregon, and he lived with them more or less with this one gal. He lived up there for 17 years. When he died, it was a foot race he died between the 12th and 13th hole on the golf course.
Oh.
But anyhow, it was a race to who could get up there first to get a hold of the property, his things, either his daughter or his wife.
Mm.
Well, the wife on her way up promised his car to one of the grandsons. When she got up there, she found out the car was also in joint with his daughter, so she didn't get the car. And it was, thank heaven I wasn't there. And she is still alive, and she's in a retirement home in Santa Cruz now. She rents out she built this house for retirement. But anyhow, she's in a retirement home now, and that's it. What next? Any more dirt?
We could probably come up. What do you know about the White family from Bachelor Valley and how you got interested in their history?
The great-grandfather, that Dorothy White, was my great-grandfather. And then Ollie Lyons and Aunt Ollie, which was the one that got tangled with the Lyons. They all lived in Bachelor Valley. And I'd heard all of my life about beautiful Bachelor Valley from my mother, because my mother had lived there. And my mother's grandparents built one house that we went to, that one that had the criteria. And it just was what I had heard about my ancestry. And then I had always thought the Sneeds were cousins, but on that article in 1924, where I spent the summer with them, she was my aunt, so I guess she was my aunt. And that was it. And I really hadn't paid a heck of a lot of attention until I got to the museum and started finding things around.
How did your mom meet your father? You know
Well,
that?
the Stinchfields, the Stinchfields were related to my, her parents.
Okay.
That's where they were to the father.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason or other, she went over to Stinchfields to work as a maid or something or other
Where did the Stinchfields live?
in Sycamore.
Is that California?
Colusa County.
Oh, Colusa County. Okay, thank
Lucerne
you.
County, you know where Sycamore is.
Yeah, I don't.
It's a little dinky horsewater town. I don't think there's anything there anymore. And that's how she met my father.
Okay.
And then it was a shotgun wedding, even in those days. And so that was it, as far as...
So which one of the children was born first?
My oldest sister was born in...
Okay.
In fact, I even have their wedding certificate if you want it.
I'll be darned. Yeah.
I was the one that ended up with all of what my mother had left when...
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got that. And so and then see, my grandmother and my grandfather, or my mother's parents, were divorced 3 times, and they were about to get married when she died.
Mm-hmm.
And she moved to Williams from Lake County. And,
But your father was her first husband?
her only husband.
Her only husband.
Her only husband. And I'm trying to think when he died in a sawmill at what county is it called?
Up in Humboldt County.
That was your father?
Yeah, he was oiling a piece of equipment, and the plank broke and threw him into this big circular saw and amputated both of his legs.
Oh my gosh.
They were living in Spy Rock at that time. And
So that's what brought you back to California then?
we came back for the funeral. Then we went back to Des Moines when Ben went to law school. He had too much of an education to get a menial job,
Mm-hmm.
and not enough to get so there was nothing to do but go back to school.
Mm-hmm. So where did he practice law at?
They opened an office in Des Moines for a day or two, and anyhow, he wrote for Bancroft Whitney for 27 years.
I'll be darned. Mm-hmm.
What's Bancroft Whitney?
It was a law publishing company.
Oh, law publishing.
And
So your residence then was writing for them. Where did you live?
we lived, first we lived in San Francisco, out by the beach, right between Judah and Lincoln, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Did you work in the hospital at that time?
I worked in the Green Eye Hospital, and eye surgery there. And then we bought in Westlake. We lived in Westlake for 4 years. Then we bought and built in 9804, not in Los Altos and Blue Oak Lane. And then when he retired, we sold it and bought in Vassar Valley and lived there for a very short length of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never get him to go look at any real estate. We took 4 years on vacations, wandering around and decide where we were going to retire because we knew we weren't going to retire
There.
there. And so then he never would go look at anything. He'd just go the local bar or what have you. And then we were here. I got mad and we got in a fight and we bought Vassar Valley. And we were here at the lodge and the bartender was talking about this place. that was it. That's how we got here.
This is a nice home.
It is.
It is.
A lovely location.
And so we added the big bedroom on
Mm-hmm.
and built the carport and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what next? Here I am.
Was it empty whenever you bought it?
No, it had renters in it. But, I know what. We put the place out for sale there.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold 3 days after we bought this.
Well, it's kind of like the story about you selling this spot.
Uh-huh.
It's
It just,
it just happened. Really.
it just happened.
Yeah. What's the name of the guy that's going to purchase this place?
David Eby.
Okay.
Yesterday he came up. I guess he's got this house just jammed full of furniture. And he had his trailer. He bought a trailer because he's going to do his own moving. And he took a dresser and chest of drawers. I mean, a chest of drawers and a big chair and another nightstand over, and he's going to put them in his yard sale.
Mm. All right.
He's a really nice fellow.
The man that purchased Inez's place has the property just to the south of her, just across the creek.
Not Inez, this is Inez.
That's what I'm meant.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Talking about you.
Oh, you're talking about the fact that he owns the other
He
side.
owns, yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's going to make a nice corner when they're combined, and after they add the bridge between the two properties.
Isn't it going to be as really?
It'll be a lovely grounds here.
And
It
he's
just will add because it'll be a whole unit.
It'll be the whole unit. He's
With the creek going through the center of his two properties, you know.
But he's in the couple of years that he's owned that, he's improved it so much. He's really cleaned it up and made it presentable and remodeled a lot. He has more ideas of all his remodeling that he's going to do here. He's going to put alongside of the bedroom. He's going to put a bathroom and a sauna.
Oh.
And then he's going to completely get from the bed shed to the back of the carport. He's going to connect it all in one. And just put the roof and that part of it up right now, and then eventually
Enclose it.
enclose it.
Sounds great.
And
There's more parking.
he's going to use it out here by the front for parking. He's going to for his guests, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't eventually close in the carport, make a garage out of it.
That's what I was wondering, if he's going to put in more parking to the back or something, so he had to.
I want to take you back to your first husband. Were you married to him very long?
About 4 years or so.
And what was his name?
McLeod, M-C,
Oh.
capital L-E-O-D, Artis, A-R-T-I-C-E.
Oh, wow.
And he was from Grass Valley?
Well, he was born in Arizona. His father apparently died during the flu epidemic of 1919, or somewhere along in there. And he was in the gold mines, was the only place that there was employment during the Depression. And he was working in the gold mines in Grass Valley. And I met him in Grass Valley. And I was young and stupid and eager.
What was, did you have any children? No.
One son.
One son. And his name?
Bill.
Bill.
William Allen
the last name?
was McLeod.
McLeod. William Allen McLeod.
Yeah.
What else do you know about the Davis side of your family that you could fill us
The
in?
Davises,
Because they were from Colusa County, is that correct?
Right. They settled, they lived in Sycamore in that real lush-looking house with the stained glass windows and all that stuff. And she was my great aunt. And we used to go there all the time when I was a kid living with my grandparents. You'd go up an outside entrance, and then you'd go into what was the office. And there they would have call down, the food was all cooked in the basement for the ranch hands and everything. And then all the food for the family came up on a dumb waiter from the basement. But then they'd call down and they'd get cake sent up. And we'd have cake and probably milk. And I smoked my first cigarette there.
Do you still smoke?
Pardon?
Do you still smoke?
I quit after 60 years. I haven't smoked since 1990.
That's discipline.
That is very disciplined.
And I only quit once.
Amazing.
Now, I had always maintained that if there was ever a medical problem, that I would quit. And the CEA count for colon cancer was supposed to go down if you quit smoking. I quit, but it didn't go down at all. And I realized how much money I was saving, so I didn't start again. And I had an open pack of cigarettes that laid on the buffet for a year. And I'd walk by and I'd say, I'm bigger than you are.
That's great. I'm bigger than you are. Oh, boy. Inez, one time, Kathy had borrowed some pictures of your sister, one of your sisters. One of your sisters die kind of young?
She died at the age of 30 from a criminal abortion.
I knew there was something to that. Yeah, I remembered. I couldn't remember what it was, but
She was married, but I think that her husband was a crossover.
Oh, really?
From his, even though his coloring was white, but he was very avid about not having any children. And she waited until she was around 5 months pregnant before she did anything. And the doctor that did the criminal abortion was the one that did the plastic surgery on Dillinger in Chicago and lost his license over it. And he came out to South California and set up this abortion ring. And as he was doing the abortion, the uterus was so soft from that length of time that he ruptured the uterus and pulled out a piece of bowel.
Oh.
But he right then and there he quit and sent her to St. Mary's Hospital. And she had gone in with an assumed name, and the hospital kept that assumed name. And when people would call trying to find out about her, they would say, we have nobody here by that name. The sisters were the most marvelous things that I had ever seen. They would call me, they'd take me and make me sit down someplace and rest a bit, because I was there the whole, probably from the first night after her husband located where she was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went there and I stayed there. And probably was the reason that I completed my first divorce, or my first separation. When I got home, my husband was angry at me because I hadn't called him when I was supposed to. And I thought, pooey on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't need that much restriction.
I loved her dearly. She was,
Mm-hmm.
she was my whole existence, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Sorry.
I'm sorry, this is over.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really know how long I was married to him.
Long enough.
Long enough. I didn't bother about getting a divorce until I wanted to get married again.
Mm-hmm.
So the divorce came years later.
Years later, right.
Mm-hmm.
have everything else, though.
Oh, God, no, so, that's it.
Tell us how you got started on your cruises. That's one
That's
of
a
your
good one, Kathy.
Okay,
things you love to do these days.
Yeah.
after my husband died, my niece in Santa Cruz was so good to me and so helpful and everything that I wanted to do something for her. And she lived in Alaska until the age of 6. And so the only cruise that I was trying to find someplace to go to Alaska, and the only thing that I could find, there were boats that you could go in the hotel and they take, pardon me, I got burpitis, they take you out in the daytime on the rivers and what have you. And somehow or other, I found Clipper that had a 7-day cruise. And we took the cruise, and I've been on it ever since. There was an all-American crew, and they were so much fun. And I found that it's the only way for an old single woman to get around the country nicely.
So how many cruises have you been on?
21.
I love it. Do you have any plans for the next one?
I leave October 1st for Australia.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's been one of the questions we haven't had a chance to talk about
I
that.
know, I know.
I've been wanting to, I know she's got something planned, I just haven't had time to talk to her about
It's
it.
a brand new ship. And, here a couple of years ago, they switched over. They were, before they originally just had the 2 ships, the Yorktown up there and the Nantucket. And then they bought this the Adventure new ship, and it is the officers on it they were Scandinavian and did something or other, and then they went from there. Now they're registered in England, I think. Then they got this Odyssey, which is another brand new ship, and it has South American or somewhere else. It's registered, and it has foreign officers. And the deckhands on the stewardesses are Filipino. And then, but there's still the cruise director and the hotel manager and all of those, and the bartender definitely is.
And your private bar stool still marked for you?
I don't know whether it's marked on the new one or not. I got a call in to see if it is. And
There's only one bar stool at the bar, right, Inez?
There's none.
There's none, except
not
for...
on the Yorktown, there's none.
Uh-huh,
And when I'm on that, they bring a stool down from the bridge,
uh-huh.
so that I have one there. But on the other one, there's a whole sling of, on the Adventure, there's a whole sling of bar stools.
Uh-huh,
But just the one that had my name on it.
okay.
Would you take a minute and come over to your giraffe collection?
Oh,
Tell us
sure.
a little bit how it got started and some of your favorite ones, or...
Is it, or which would be the best side?
That's fine.
Whatever
Okay.
she wants.
Let me see.
You want me? No.
Yeah, you're already on.
I'm already in. Okay, well, I had always said, because of being such a short potty, that in reincarnation I was going to be a giraffe. And one Christmas, my husband was shopping around. Actually, he was in the cookware department when he saw this little Raffy there. And so he bought me this. And I've had him since 1970, about 76 or 77, somewhere along in there. And like everything else that I've started in on collections, somehow or other, everybody starts giving them to me. Then the two bigger are the brass ones. We were up in Canada, and I saw those. And not the great
On the right-hand side?
Yeah, right over there.
Oh, on the left.
Whatever. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
It's on my right.
On your right, okay.
it's on my
On my left.
And I bought those in Canada. And then, I guess, the great big one is an interesting one. And one of the stupidest things I ever did in my life, but I got away with it. I had won a jackpot, and I walked by and I'd seen him in the window.
You were at Reno, Tahoe?
Yeah, Reno, yeah. And I said something, I went home and I back up to the room and I told my husband, and he said, well, you've just got this jackpot, why don't you buy him? So I went down, and I think he was 100 and something, I don't really remember the exact amount. But they wrapped him all up in styrofoam, bubble stuff, so that I could take him back up to the room. And I was walking along on Virginia Street with him over my shoulder like this. And some guy said, what have you got there? And I stupidly said, a machine gun.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, yeah. Today I would not get away with it. I would have been... And from then on...
That's Inez's sense of humor.
Well, you used to be able to kid around and joke around about things like that, but nowadays,
nowadays
you don't dare.
You wouldn't dare.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then there was nothing to it, but in fact, I was telling the antique guy that was buying all this stuff, he said, you sure wouldn't. Not today.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of them have been people that love me, such as Babe here.
Is he the newest one?
He is the newest. Well, not quite the newest. And alongside of Babe,
Oh.
for Christmas, which I have not used until I go into the retirement
Oh,
home,
look at her slippers.
the slippers.
They match.
They're even the same
They're
color.
They're the same fabric.
They're same fabric, same thing.
Oh, that's funny.
And
Mm.
some of them, the one that is looking in the
I didn't-
mirror down there, I got in El Cajon. I saw him in the window. The big, tall glass one, I got in Seattle, I think. And most of them, all the rest of these, have been given to me. Now this one is an interesting one. In Los Altos, my neighbor was a big kook on flea markets. She bought, it's a candle, see? And she bought it at a flea market for 5 cents and gave it to
Oh, my.
me. And he's still surviving.
Mm.
And the rest of them is leather. This big one there is leather. My niece in Salt Lake gave me that one. And this one I bought in Canada from one of the stewardesses. She had seen it. And the rest of them are given to me. Like everything else. See, I started a cup cover collection there, until that got out of hand. So I quit collecting giraffes.
Yeah. The only thing I've collected is vases, and it's like at that point too, little bud vases.
Oh.
Because my roses don't get much bigger than that, so I collect these little bud vases. But I've got too many of those now too. They happen.
I got some vases in there.
The only thing is nobody gave me mine. I bought my own.
Oh, okay. I haven't packed my vases yet.
I love vases.
Okay.
Oops. So we have lots.
Are they 3-hour tapes or something?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 20 minutes. You take your balloons down, huh, Inez?
My birthday balloons.
Did you have a birthday? Let me see. When did we do something for your birthday? I can't
No.
remember. Your birthday
No,
got
she was
long.
going out to lunch with somebody that day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We did a year ago, but
We missed her this year, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody was at different places.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Inez's fireplace, and
The rocks came from the old Laureldale Lodge, and when I told Dave, the person that's buying the house, about it, he got on the internet or something or other, and he found the old Laureldale Lodge, and he found the picture of the rocks when they were in the building.
oh really?
Really.
Oh
So
wow!
I don't know. He's like a poster people that I know. He was a cook on the computer. In fact, he's gonna, in the little room, he's gonna put the computer, his whole computer set up in that room. Yeah. So,
Who built the fireplace? Do you know?
the house was built by, the same person that all the streets are named after. She, right now I'm having a mental block and the cat's getting me out there. But she built the plans for the house. She was an architect. And she built the plans for the house on a brown paper bag.
That's funny.
And, Joanne, but they originally owned all this whole thing.
Was this a farm originally, or just one big resort?
I think it was the walnut trees.
Oh, walnut trees.
And I'll think of his last name pretty soon. But they named all the streets after their kids. Like Diane was the daughter, and
Irving was the one we came
it
over
was
here.
supposed to be Irvin, but it got run when it got labeled. It got to be Irvine.
Oh, I
And,
see.
then there's Melpass Way, and anyhow,
That's quite typical of Lake County to have names after the settlers that settled
they
those
settled
areas.
there, and
Nice is that way, Lakeport's that way, Kelseyville.
but they've all lived.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why in the heck I can't think of his their last name, but they own right now. They own the trailer park, the first trailer park that you see coming in. The daughter owns it, but it's in trust for the grandkids. D'Albert.
All right. D. Albert.
D'Albert. If that isn't right, I'll think of it before I leave. But I think it's Joanne D'Albert, yeah.
Hmm.
And are they still living?
No,
They passed.
they were both alcoholics. And when they were building the fireplace, it fell down 3 times before they got it up.
Oh my gosh, what a story. So they built a lot of the houses here? They did a little
Yes.
subdivision?
Apparently they must have.
Hmm.
The,
Hmm. What was the name of the family that shoot lions, I guess? What's the name of the
The
family?
lions you started to tell us about
Oh.
earlier.
They lived in Kelseyville. And the mother, his wife, present wife, or his wife at that time, was having a baby. And my great aunt was more or less of a babysitter, midwife, what have you. But anyhow, she died, I think, in childbirth. And then my grandmother, or my aunt, took care of the kids for a long time and ended up marrying him. And that's where the Lions came in.
That's how she met Mr. Lyons.
That's how she got to be a Lyons. And she was Ollie Lyons. And she lived they lived in Healdsburg, finally.
Oh. I wonder how common the name Ollie was.
I don't know, but there's quite a few of that age bracket.
Is there? Because there's a picture in one of the photos of a girl by the name of Ollie, but there's no last name. Seems like it's in the group photos, and it's one of the homes. Darn, they owned the newspaper at one time.
Oh.
And Ollie's standing there, and then the whole table is set.
Is that?
And it's just a fabulous feast that they had. And, I don't know who she is, so when you say the word Ollie, I'm going, I wonder how common that was.
I don't know, really.
Well, she was actually, wasn't she a Josephine Ollie or an Olive Josephine or something?
Hmm.
No, when I was in training. Where's that, Kathy?
This isn't San Francisco, but this isn't any of the family. She's just
Mhm.
talking
Oh, there's the one you. Here's some more scanning.
about. There's some more skin. Here's her dog again.
There's my sister. My oldest sister, that's Doris.
Oh, okay.
I think
You scanned that
Did you scan
Did I
that?
scan this
Yeah.
one? I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I scanned it or not, but I've got
Well, I
this.
thought I saw it before, but maybe I'm wrong.
She's brought this one before, or another version of it.
See, now there's one with her husband.
This is Doris?
That's Doris.
I think I've seen these before.
Doris, would it be Jeffers?
It was Doris Jeffries. Yeah.
I keep saying it wrong.
There's Bing and I.
See, this is the same photo you showed us earlier, except it's on a card now.
Turned it into a Christmas card.
Mhm.
This is Inez's home, and this is the fireplace that is created out of the foundation at the Lauredale Resort. This is Inez Croskey's home on Diane Lane in Blue Lakes. Oops.
You gotta have some character to know where you were.
Inez and Kathy, and this is April the 3rd, 2000.
My shirt. Well, if it's just about
Another lilac.
another line, like the natives, the owners. And this side was up to the part way up here about that tree. We all sat out on this creek bank and watched Walter when he was putting the rest of the bricks in. We did it on around the corner there.
Oh, okay.
And then Dave, when he was messing around on his side, he extended my side before he got it down a ways.
Yeah, she's doing a pattern. To create her own flower books.
Oh, yeah.
The building, when we conclude this meeting, in order to answer questions that you may have, because of the size of the group, we'll not be attempting to do a walk-around individual tour where one of our staff will be with you. We're going to give you an overview of the facility, what's on the top floor, the bottom floor, things of that nature. Point out a few points of interest we feel that may be of interest to you regarding our facility. And then when we adjourn, after you've had a chance to ask some questions, we'll just kind of let you do a self-guided tour, and our staff will be throughout the building, and you can identify them because they'll be wearing a shirt similar to the one that I have on that identifies them as Camp Lucerne staff. And we'll attempt to answer your questions in that way. I want to give you just a brief overview of the layout of the building. Some of you arrived a little early, and I've seen a few of you walking through the halls and things, so you've, perhaps some of you at least, have familiarized yourself with the building. We're on the top floor of 3 main levels right now. This room we obviously use for our auditorium when we have camps and retreats here. Of interest to you will be that in the original hotel, built in the late 1920s, we're told that this room was the dance floor. And that might be of interest to some of you. In fact, recently we did a little bit of renovating here. We're always doing some kind of renovating, it seems like. We put this platform in and took out one that was over by the windows, and if you look over there on the floor where the carpet is cut away, you can see the original hardwood floor, which is underneath this carpet. Of course, if it wasn't carpeted, the noise level in here would be such that we wouldn't be able to talk and hear one another, but nonetheless, you can see the original hardwood floor. Also on this level is the workers' quarters. And following the little lecture here, for any of you who are interested, you're free to go through this door to my left, to your right, and there are a series of small rooms back there that are a little bit unlike the regular guest rooms throughout the building in that they each have a sink but no bathroom. And the workers' quarters, we call them, there are showers on the hall which are shared by the people staying there. Typically, we do not use that part of the building except during the summer when we have our full camp programs in progress and we have college-age young people here serving as counselors and operations staff for the summer. And those rooms back there become their living quarters during the summer months. I apologize for the fact that during the rest of the year we don't really use that part of the building very much, and those rooms tend to become storage areas, and they may not be in pristine, clean condition as you go back there. We'll be preparing those a little bit later this spring to get them ready for our summer staff's arrival. But you're free to take a little walk back there. At the end of the hallway, when you turn the corner, there's a stairway. That stairway goes down and comes out right behind the kitchen, which makes it convenient because many of the workers who stay up there during the summer are kitchen staff working in the food service area. And then the rest of this top floor, from these doors all the way to the far end of the building, and both the west and east wings are all private guest rooms. I don't know what the exact number of rooms is on this floor, but each of the rooms built in the late 1920s has its own bath. And many of those rooms have 2 twin beds, many of them have 1 double bed, there's a few that have 2 double beds, but they're all private guest rooms, each with a private bath, which in the late 1920s was definitely state of the art. Now on the main floor, which is the level that you came in on, is of course the main entrance and the lobby. The lobby is a gathering spot for our guests, as I'm sure guests of the hotel during earlier days. Also on the main floor level, which will be the middle of 3 levels, is the dining room where you'll be having luncheon at approximately 12:30 this afternoon. The kitchen area is behind that. You're free when you do your self-guided tour to take a look in there. Just know that our staff are back there preparing the meal and perhaps setting the tables and things of that nature, so try to avoid getting in their way as much as possible, but feel free to go back there and look. There are some interesting observations to make in our kitchen. One that I would point out is in the back far corner is a walk-in refrigerator. which is original. Built in the late 1920s. We've discovered, as we've done renovations here, that the walls of that old walk-in refrigerator are insulated with sawdust. But we still use it. It still works great, and it's part of the original equipment. There is a hood back there that covers the range, and some racks that hang down from the ceiling where pots and pans hang. We have old photographs and things that indicate that those are pretty much original when the hotel was originally opened. So feel free to take a quick look back into the kitchen. Right off of the kitchen and also right off of these stairs as you go down back toward the lobby, there's a door that opens into what we call the snack shop. And you're welcome to take a look in there. When we have guests here, camps and conferences and retreats and things, that's open during the evening and the afternoon for snacks, popcorn, ice cream, sodas, candy, things of that nature. But of interest to you would be that in the original hotel, we're told that that part of the building, that room in the building was the original cocktail lounge. And the bar that you see in the snack shop now, which is in a different configuration than it was in the original hotel, is in fact, however, part of the original bar that was in that room. So that would be perhaps of interest to you as well. Also on the main level, our gift shop. By the way, purchases that you make there, the proceeds from that go into our furnishings fund. We're constantly purchasing items for the rooms, lamps, bedspreads, and many blinds and curtains and things of that nature. So we put all the profit on anything that we make from the sale of those items in the gift shop into that furnishings fund. You may have noticed when you came in, several of you have already looked and asked questions. On the registration desk, we have a few old lamps that we are selling, if you would be interested. Now, I cannot vouch for specifics on them. We've been told that those lamps are in a category called Southwestern. I cannot say that those are true original furnishings of the hotel going back to the late 20s. I don't know that to be true. We do know this. Those lamps have been furnishings here for many, many, many years. They just don't fit into our future plans as far as decorating is concerned. So we have a limited quantity of those available that we're selling to anyone who would be interested. If you are interested, please see Cynthia, our gal at the desk. She'll be glad to help you with those. In addition to those other areas on the main floor are the offices, administrative offices. We have additional guest rooms. I believe there are 21 additional private guest rooms on that main level. And also one short wing of the main level has been converted into staff housing. And there's a little sign on the door that says private residence. So we ask you please to respect that and not be curious and open that door and look down that hallway. And then there's yet another level below that, the third of three levels. Down in that level, we have a number of things. One is we have a couple of conference rooms down there for small group meetings. When we have conferences going on, we have an additional 10 or so private guest rooms down there. But several of the rooms on the lower level, we have converted into dormitories. That is, we've taken what was originally a private room. We've put 3 sets of bunks in that room, and that is where we accommodate our young people during our summer camping program. And so we have a number of those rooms that have been converted. They're open, and you're welcome to look in there as you wish. Also, on the bottom level, basically directly below us right now, only 3 floors down, are some larger rooms that we also have converted into dormitories. We believe, according to information available to us, that some of those rooms in the original hotel were used for things like a barbershop, a beauty parlor. One of the rooms was a game room. In fact, there's still some evidence on the concrete floor of the painted shuffleboard game and things like that. So it's some of those rooms are of interest to you on that lower level as well. In addition to the dorms and the conference rooms and the guest rooms, there's a part of the lower level which we use for maintenance. We have a shop area down there for storing parts and tools and doing shop-type work. There's also a small laundry down there where we do the kitchen laundry, aprons and towels and things for the kitchen. We do not attempt, primarily because of manpower, we do not attempt to do all of the linen laundry for the rooms. We have a linen service for that where we bag the dirty linen, send them out, and they bring them back clean. I'm sure you can understand the manpower associated with trying to do that ourselves, and we're smarter than that. We just pay to have it done outside. So that gives you a bit of an overview of the building itself. We're sitting on 8 acres approximately of land. That is the residue, the remainder of what is left of what was originally about 120 acres that was owned here, which would just about include most of what we all recognize as the town of Lucerne. But in the late 1920s, the property was built and developed on that much land, and then over the years, with different owners buying and selling it, and another one coming along, portions of it, major portions of it, were sold off along the way for various reasons. I'm sure in some cases to recover operating losses, to pay taxes, whatever the reasons. But today, the 120 acres has dwindled to just the 8 acres immediately surrounding our property. I'm going to go through some notes that I have and give you some information on the building and the property and a little bit of its history. Hopefully these will answer some of the questions you may have brought with you. And I'll move rather quickly, but at the end, and before we let you break up and begin your walk-around self-guided tour, we'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions. Many of you will probably have some questions you might like to ask. When you do ask a question, perhaps you can speak loudly so that everyone can hear, and then to the best of my ability, I'll try to answer your questions. So let's quickly just go through. By the way, how many of you in this room have been here before for one of the tours or something like that? Okay, there are some, but the majority of you, I assume, then are here for the first time, at least as part of the museum tour. Very good. Does anyone know what the town of Lucerne was called before it was called Lucerne? Does anyone know? Yes, ma'am?
Clear Lake Beach.
Clear Lake Beach, that's correct. This was prior to 1925. The community that we know as Lucerne now was then called Clear Lake Beach. And there was a company formed in the early 1920s. The company was actually out of Los Angeles. And it was called the Clear Lake Beach Company. And they formed a corporation to develop this site in the village of Lucerne here into what they were promoting as one of America's first planned retirement communities. They later put together a second corporation called the Hotel Lucerne Corporation, which was the actual building itself. And they issued stock, public offering of stock. I'm told that they issued about $300,000 worth of preferred stock at $10 a share. I don't have any information as to how many of those shares of stock actually were sold, but that's how many were issued. And investors from all over the world, literally, but primarily from the Los Angeles area, because that's where the headquarters of the company were and where most of the publicity was placed, were buying stock as well as lots. They were buying many of them sight unseen to be part of this planned retirement development here. Some of the early promotional materials, and they had a rather elaborate prospectus, 40 or 50 pages with color photographs and a lot of descriptive verbiage regarding this facility. We have some photocopies of portions of that prospectus. I wish we had a complete one. That would be a nice artifact to have, but I don't have possession of one. But some of the early promotional materials promoted Lucerne and the Hotel Lucerne Corporation in Clear Lake Beach in that they were saying that there were going to be major highways and railroads built into Lake County, which was supposed to be an inducement for folks to want to buy up here. And of course, for those of us who now live here in the year 2000, we know that the railroads never came. Most of the major highways are represented by two-lane blacktop, and we all learned to love those roads. But the railroads never came, but the Depression did. And the building was under construction in 1925. There was a groundbreaking ceremony. The governor of California, Governor Richardson, along with other dignitaries, were here on the site for a groundbreaking in 1925. And construction began in 1926 approximately. The general contractor was a man by the name of Frank Phillips, who was a Lakeport resident. The construction foreman was a man from Lakeport by the name of Vernon Knowles. Mr. Knowles still has family in this area. The two men, Mr. Phillips and Mr. Knowles, apparently knew each other sometime before in Southern California. They reconnected up here to be the nucleus of the brain power, if you will, as well as the manpower behind the leadership behind the construction of this facility. Point of interest was that Mr. Phillips' wife, a lady by the name of Claire Phillips, apparently also painted all the doors. And if you can imagine, as you walk through later, you probably will be able to imagine the number of doors. And Mrs. Phillips painted all the doors on both sides, so quite an undertaking. We're told, and this is sketchy, I have no specific documentation to support this, but we understand that the construction costs for this building in the period between 1925 and 1929 was about $500,000. If you can imagine what it would take today in year 2000 to put together a building like this, it would be somewhat more than that, for sure. But even $500,000 made this a very, very costly construction project during that day, during the 1920s. It is rumored that the hotel was built for the purpose of being a gambling center. The towers that you see were rumored to be for gambling purposes, gambling rooms and things of that nature. To the best of my knowledge, folks, that is not the reason why it was built. That is just rumor that has started. Whether there's truth to it or not, I cannot say for sure. But we do know that the hotel founders, those who built it, built this facility to be the next generation of grand Lake County resort hotels. Of course, many of you know the history of the hot springs resorts and hotels in this area, and that over the years, many of them fell into disuse or limited use because of the emergence of steamship travel and air travel and things of that nature. People didn't do the extended vacations the way they had for many of the years during the 1800s. And then, of course, most of those old hotels burned and were no longer in existence. So this project was to be Lake County's next generation of grand resort hotels, built state-of-the-art. There are a number of features of this hotel building that are still in use that were built into the original hotel. For example, the hot water system is a continuously circulating hot water system, delivering hot water to all the rooms very, very quickly because of the continuously circulating system. This was built in the late 1920s and was definitely a state-of-the-art feature. To the best of our knowledge, the sprinkler system that you see is not a retrofit. That was built into the building as an original construction feature to protect this building from the same fate as most of the other old hotels in Lake County, and that was fire. And it works. Believe me, it works. We have to have it periodically certified, and every once in a while we do some renovation where we have to shut it down and restarted, so we can vouch for the authenticity of this fire protection system. There are approximately, in the original hotel, there were approximately 100 individual private guest rooms, each one of those with a private bath. On the lower level, as I said, we have converted a few of those rooms into dormitories, but we still have remaining in service day in and day out 70 private guest rooms, each with a private bath, which I have stated several times was really state-of-the-art for the late 1920s. In 1929, something happened that seriously impacted the future of the hotel here, and that was the Depression came. As I said earlier, the railroad never came, but the Depression did. In late 1929, or in 1929, the building itself was nearing completion as far as the construction was concerned. The building itself was built, but some of the interior work was still being worked on. Some of the walls were being plastered, and of course furnishing and carpeting and things of that nature were being done. Showers that were supposed to be installed didn't get finished. And later on, in later years, in an effort to get the building open and to start seeing some cash flow turning, they came into those bathrooms where the showers were unfinished, and they cut the stems off the handles and they plastered over in order to have just a bathtub, but to get the building open. More recent years, our maintenance man, Mr. Bell, is standing over here. We're, as often as we can and as many as we can, we're finishing up some of those showers that were left unfinished in 1929 when the Depression came and some short circuiting was done on parts of the building as far as the finish-up is concerned. 1931, first of all, let me mention that there were a couple of men who were prime investors, yes, but also the visionaries behind this project. Mr. Lewis Becker and Mr. Palmer. These men were the men of means. These were the men of influence. They knew people and they were attracting other investors. And when the Depression came and things fell upon hard times, Mr. Becker particularly was attempting to draw from his resources and to bring in investors to see this project completed. And tragically, Mr. Becker was killed in a plane crash right out here between Nice and Lucerne. He was showing some potential investors the property from an aerial perspective. And Mr. Becker and his wife, the pilot, and at least one of their investors were killed in that crash. And with his death, much of the visionary influence behind this project went as well. It's our understanding that from then until about 1938, approximately, no work continued on the building. It was unfinished, and it was apparently empty, or at least not in use for much of that time. 1934, bankruptcy was filed. The original corporations went bankrupt, and a company by the name of Croskey Corporation became owners of the building because they filed a lien against the property for $87,000 in unpaid construction debt. And with that lien, that being the largest creditor, they received possession of the building. They did some work to somehow complete portions of the building that were previously unfinished and opened the doors in the spring of 1938. But only about a year later, they closed because they just couldn't make a go of it. Lake County then, as now, was very remote. The railroads weren't here, transportation was a problem, and the continuing effects of the Depression as well affected the ability that the operators had to turn a profit and to successfully operate. So in less than a year, it closed. Over the next several years, there is a chronology of different ownerships that purchased the building, tried to make a go of it, were unsuccessful. They unloaded it to the next guy. And for approximately the next 30 years, There was just a succession of different ownerships that had possession of the property with plans to do something with it, but were just not able to make a go of it from a financial standpoint. In 1960, I'm sorry, get my dates correct here, back up and fill in a few blanks here. In approximately 1944, a group of physicians headed by a Dr. Hammer, it's either Hammer or Hamner, I'm not sure which, acquired this facility with a plan to turn it into a sanitarium rehabilitation center, only to discover that the doors of the rooms were not wide enough to accommodate hospital beds. The cost of renovation and remodel was going to be excessive. That plan did not go forward. One by one, the physicians involved in the enterprise dropped out. One passed away, leaving Dr. Hammer as the lone remainder of that original group, and the plan to make this into a sanitarium rehabilitation center was set aside. In 1952, approximately, property was acquired by what was then called the Northern California Baptist Convention. And the Northern California Baptists envisioned having this as a retreat center, a conference center. And for about 3 or 4 years, they had it, but it's clear that they were not able to make a go of it financially. And then from 1955 to 1964, the Northern California Baptists held a mortgage, but several people, individuals and groups, acquired the building with certain plans to do certain things with it, and each one was not successful. And each time they couldn't make the mortgage payments, and the title of the property reverted back to the Northern California Baptist folks. And then in 1966, the board of directors of what was then called the San Francisco Baptist Theological Seminary heard about this property. At that time, it was sitting here vacant. They inquired through the public record to find out where the ownership lied, and it turned out that it was owned at that time by Dr. Hargrove, another physician, who bought it for reasons that you and I can only speculate about. And for approximately 3 years, Dr. Hargrove owned it but did nothing with it. The property was vacant. At that time, the property was not even fenced. And Dr. Hargrove employed a local gentleman by the name of Joe, that's all I know, to patrol the property to keep it from being vandalized. And Joe would ride his horse around the perimeter of the building. He had a pistol on his hip, and in that way was still working? I didn't do anything to it. Yes, he's telling me it's time to hush and quit. But Joe was hired to keep the kids away and anyone who might vandalize the property, and he was successful because when the seminary board in 1966 came to look at the property, having been completely vacant for at least 3 years and much of the previous 30 years, there wasn't even a broken window. And so old Joe did his job. Another point of interest when you do your walk-around tour and get to the area that I described earlier known as the snack shop, which was the original cocktail lounge, there is a side door that comes into the cocktail lounge area, the snack shop area, straight off of the parking lot. And the reports were from this board of directors who came up in 1966 that Joe had been stabling his horse, and that there was quite a bit of shoveling necessary to get that room empty and clear and available to use. So in 1966, the property was acquired by the San Francisco Baptist Theological Seminary. Now, they never bought it with the intent of moving the college. Hopefully this one will work better. That one seems to be having a bit of a problem. But they did not purchase the property with the intent of moving the college here from San Francisco. Instead, like the Northern California Baptist many years earlier, they bought it to be a Christian conference center, retreat center, camp. And we have now owned it continuously as a Christian conference center since 1966. Unfortunately, the original owners, the Baptist Seminary in San Francisco, is no longer in existence. It ceased to operate as a degree-granting institution a number of years ago. Fortunately, the Board of Directors had the foresight to spin off this facility into a separate nonprofit corporation, which it is today, the state of California. And we continue to operate as a Christian conference center. So that's kind of a history of, as we know it, of this land, and this building, how it started, and some of its troubles along the way, and where we're at today, and what we're doing here today. It may be that some of you folks, being from Lake County, you may have information that I don't have. You may know that some of the things I've said are inaccurate. I did not intentionally mean to be inaccurate, it's just that I've passed on to you information as it's been given to me. If you have some information regarding some of these historical facts that need to be clarified or corrected, or to add light, feel free to see me. I'd love to hear what you have to say. At this point, in order to get you on your tour, let's take a few minutes and allow you to ask some questions. Some of you may very well have some questions that you'd like to ask, and speak loudly, and I'll attempt to answer so that you can hear. At the back, please.
Hello. Down 13, which is also known as the Strand, I've heard so many stories why it's so wide. It used to belong to this place.
That's correct. It was part of the original 120 or so acres. I don't know that I have the absolutely definitive answer to that question, but I can tell you what my observation is. It was obviously the wide street because as you look up from Highway 20, prominently at the end of that is the hotel itself. We believe that that was to be a wide street to be a grand entrance. Now, we have heard, and others have voiced to us the expression that there was a plan at one time to dig a canal
I've heard
and
that.
extend the lake up to the foot of the walkway here. But I have no evidence to say that that was ever truly part of the original plans or not.
Okay, I've heard of a canal. I've heard of a landing field for small planes. And I've also heard of a promenade for people to walk. And actually, I've seen down at the very end where there's houses now there, where there used to be a great gazebo.
Well, some of these things are new to me. I do know that down on the lake, on the lake itself, there was originally a big dance pavilion that was down there, and a big pier that ran out into the lake. And all of it was part of this complex. It was all part of this grand hotel resort complex surrounded by an area of development for people to buy lots and things. By the way, to our east here, it's a little community that for many, many years has been known as Cottage City. That was all part of this complex originally as well. Okay, there was a question here.
Yes, I wanted to know, has there been a history written up about this? Because it is so interesting to hear about.
An official history published in form, not to my knowledge. We have an old scrapbook, things down at the registration desk you're free to look at that has some old newspaper clippings and things like that, but to my knowledge, no, that has not been done. Yes, ma'am?
Do you rent out the private rooms? You said you had private rooms. Do you rent them out like for people for a weekend or something?
No, our directive by our board of directors is that we are a retreat center and conference center, so we normally are open only for groups. We're not open like a bed and breakfast, for
Yeah.
example, where individuals could come and rent a room. We're not open to that at all.
How often do you have such
You retreat.
retreats?
Okay, pretty much year-round. During the period from Thanksgiving until February or early March is our slower period of time during the year. But from the middle of March throughout the spring, all of the summer and the fall, we're extremely busy. I suppose we probably have somewhere in the vicinity of 35 to 40 events per year that we have here.
Now, where do these people come from? Where do your groups come from?
Now, all over Northern California, primarily the San Francisco Bay Area and the Central Valley area from Sacramento, north and south of Sacramento, probably for a couple hundred miles. So mostly the Central Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area.
Strictly Baptist?
No, ma'am. Our roots are Baptist, but we are a non-denominational organization and therefore open to other denominations other than Baptist coming to our facility and participating in our camps. But our roots are Baptist, as I mentioned earlier. Yes, ma'am. Well, sometimes we have smaller groups than I wish. We promote something and we don't get as many people to come as we would have liked. We also have a rental program whereby a church, for example, that wants to rent our facility and have the lodging and the meals can come and do their own retreat. For those types of rental programs, we require a minimum of 60 people to be participating. That is in order for them to have exclusive use of our facilities, a minimum of 60. We've engineered the P&L, and we know that for any less than that, we can't really break even. But I would say an average for us, maybe in the vicinity of 100 to 120 each time we have a group here. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, in the early days, do you have any idea what the water supply, where the water supply came from for a facility like this? The pure water, drinking water,
You know, I can't answer that exactly because I don't know how long the municipal water department has supplied water here. We are on domestic water. We have a well, which we use for some of our irrigation of our grounds, but our water is all city water. The fire protection system, which was originally installed, the water for that was supplied by a tank up on the hill, still up there. So it may be that there was a municipal water department that provided the water not only for the fire protection system, but also for domestic use. But I really don't know the exact answer to that. This man way in the back.
Are you a tax-free facility being your religious service?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're tax exempt. Yes, sir.
You know approximately where this 8 acres sits within the original 120? We know it's projected down to the beach, but you go north, south, east, kind of in the center.
You know, I've never thought about it, and I don't have any plot plans or anything that would help me with that. But I would say that this facility, the building itself, was more or less in the center. We know that the property to the east extended and included all of the little community of Cottage City. We know that to the west, there was a golf course that was planned, at least. I don't know if it was ever completely finished. A 9-hole golf course ran along the foothills, where Foothill Drive is. We believe that they owned everything down to the lake. And I would say that the building itself may have sat more or less in the center of that original landholding. Yes, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I had heard this was used for R&R during the war.
I have no knowledge of that purpose at all. I had not heard that, and I'm not aware of anything that would confirm that. Yes, ma'am?
How many full-time employees do you have year-round?
Currently, we have 3 full-time staff members and their families. our spouses and our children work with us on the housekeeping and maintenance and things of that nature, also serving guests during the camp. Just recently, just in the last few months, we have hired a 4th full-time employee, and we have a 5th coming on this summer. Yes, ma'am?
It seems to me, listening to you talk, about what was planned here and all this kind of thing, that Lake County is moving backwards. What's your thoughts?
I think you have to consult with the Chamber of Commerce for an answer to that question. I don't believe I would have anything to say about that. I don't know. I've lived here all of my life, and it's still a small town to me. So, yes, ma'am.
Has the association or the hotel, have they direct title to any lake frontage, or do you just use the municipal parks?
We just use the municipal park. At one time, the conference center did have possession of a couple of lots down the lakefront, but without the ability to, financial ability to develop it and so forth, the directors at that time. Well, in practice, most of the groups that use our facility are, but I don't know that we have a policy that states specifically that you have to be certified. Christian organizations, churches primarily, Christian schools, things of that nature, and individuals, of course. Yes, ma'am?
You mentioned a renovation of the bathrooms and showers. Are you working off of existing original plans?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, the rooms that we've done, most of them, we have found that the plumbing for the showers, the mixers, the hot and cold water, and the riser for the shower are actually in the walls. They were put there in 1926, 27, 28, that time frame, not quite finished, and then when the stock market crashed and ultimately the ownership of the building here went bankrupt, those things in many cases were sealed up by plastering over rather than go to the expense of trying to finish them. So we're resurrecting some of this plumbing and just finishing them off. Okay, are there any other questions? Quickly, and then we'll let you be dismissed and start a self-guided tour. Yes, ma'am? Is that right? She said that in the plane crash in which Mr. Becker was killed, there was also a professional golfer, apparently someone that was well known who was killed. I did not know that. It's very interesting. Well, we know that the purpose of the airplane ride was to hopefully attract investors by giving them an aerial view of the complex. So it could be that this individual, being financially able, may envision that maybe he would be an investor. So I did not know that. Yes, ma'am.
There was an airstrip also.
Excuse me just a second. Let me answer.
Yes, as you're coming into town, we're looking, it says Lucerne, the Switzerland of America. Is this building supposed to be Switzerland of America?
In a general sense, earlier we talked about the fact that the community here was originally called Clear Lake Beach, and the name was changed to Lucerne. And I understand that the name change came about because the area with the lake, the mountains, reminded somewhat of Lucerne, Switzerland. And that they changed the name to Lucerne because of that. That's about all I know. Now there was another lady here. Yes.
Well, I mentioned that at one time there was an airstrip here, wasn't there also?
I'm not aware that there was one right here in Lucerne, but there was one between Lucerne and Nice. My understanding, and I could be wrong, is that the location of that airstrip is approximately where the walnut orchards are now, that you drive through between Nice and Lucerne. Okay, the question was asked about the two towers. Let me mention just a little bit about that. First of all, the front tower, the one nearest to the lake, has, on the main level, on the lobby level, that is where the offices are. Directly above that, on this level, this top level, is a room, which is an extra large room, which we use most often for speakers and special guests who come and stay there. And then above that is yet another very large suite that we are in the process of renovating. If you wish to see it, we have it open right down this hallway, just before you get to the stairs that drops down to the next level. Room number 38 on your left will be the king-size suite that's on this level. And right next to that is a door, it's called room 36, and a stairway. And you can go up that stairway into the highest point of that front tower, and there's a room up there that is under renovation. We've done a lot of work up there. We're just in the process of getting ready to paint it, and it's kind of in disarray, but you're welcome to go up and look. It's going to be quite an interesting room when we're finished. Now, with regard to the back tower is quite a bit higher than the front tower, and it's a portion of the building that, because of the crash, because of the bankruptcy, because of other factors, that portion of the building, to our knowledge, has never been used. There is much up there in the way of plaster that has deteriorated over the years because of exposure to weather and things of that nature, but there are 3 levels to that back tower above this level that we're on. The stairs that you see right here go up to a wall with a small door in it, and beyond that point, we don't allow guests to go. We use a portion of that first level there just for some storage. But then there's another 2 levels above that with a spiral staircase that goes up to it. Very interesting, but a part of the building that's never been finished. And someday, God willing, we would like to have some money to invest in the completion of that area and turn that into a part of the building that can be used for small meetings, things of that nature. But right now, there's 3 more levels above this in the back tower that are not used. Yes, sir?
I'm curious about the pipes that were put into the wall. What kind of material was it? Did they have copper then, or is it galvanized, or black iron, or what was the material that was used for the piping in the conduit?
It's almost all galvanized.
Galvanized?
We have done a number of renovations in different parts of the building. Of course, we have access to the main attic where most of the infrastructure goes and comes across and then comes down through to the different levels. Most of the plumbing that we have uncovered and seen is galvanized.
You don't have any elevators in this building?
No, ma'am. They were not required by law in the late 1920s, and we're grandfathered with regards to that. At times, we of course wish we had that facility for those who need it, but the cost of installing would be prohibitive for us, and we're not required to do it. Okay, just a couple more questions. Back here, sir.
Did I understand you correctly that the sprinklers were put in when this building was actually constructed?
Yes, sir.
That is truly amazing.
Yes.
I'll tell you a quick story. My brother was supervisor for one of the largest insurance companies in the United States. He had Ohio, New York State, and I don't know, New Jersey or Pennsylvania. He had 3 anyway. And in the 60s and 70s now, not in the 20s, he would fight with these companies to put sprinklers in, and they would flat refuse to do it until he threatened to pull the insurance. And then and only then, many of them put the sprinklers in. And with one exception, Eastman Kodak did it on the dime every time. But there are very few like that. Now they're all in. But my point is this. Whoever built this back in the 20s and put these sprinklers in, that's got to be an extremely forward-looking company, in my opinion.
There's no question that in many respects, construction-wise, this building was state-of-the-art for the late 1920s. There's no question. Okay, let's try right here. There was originally a septic system, which was bypassed a number of years ago and we're on the city sewer. It's back in the back.
You said that this was a tax exempt organization, as I know that religious church was not.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of
Taking
it.
other money from the church, who do you pour back into the community or into Lake County from this organization?
Well, yes, of course, all of our programs here, our camps and things, are open to the community to come. We always have a number of young people coming from local churches to our summer camps and things. Here is something that I had meant to mention earlier and forgot. This is a service that we're providing to the children of the county. We have a day camp using our trained summer staff, and these little flyers will be available for distribution as we get closer to that summer program. But the day camp that we have during the summer is just for the local children. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No money coming from here going
Nothing except that we buy most of everything we can buy that we consume here, building materials, food and things of that, and we pay the local taxes. But,
Nonprofit organization.
not in terms of cash going in. I'm not sure what you're referring to there as far as where it would go.
Don,
Okay.
Don,
Yes, ma'am?
I really appreciate the job that you've done today, and you've expressed very clearly the success, and the obvious thing is the preservation of this building. And I feel that's the strong point that they're putting back into our community, because the demise of this building. Also, I'm the curator of the Lake County Museum, for those of you that aren't aware of it, and I'm Donna Howard. One of the things that I would like to say is the flooring when we come in, you didn't mention that, I ponder and think about the men that worked on that and the beams that are hewed downstairs. It just is amazing how attractive it feels when you walk into the
Yes,
lobby.
there definitely is some craftsmanship and some quality in this building that you don't find in today's construction. The floor that she's referring to is the concrete poured floors of the lobby and dining room. I've actually had men come here for conferences who are in the construction trades. I've actually had these men down on their hands and knees looking at that floor and shaking their heads and saying, I don't know how they did that. Also, the big beams, the 12 by 15 beams, 12 by 12 beams in the lobby and the dining room. Mr. Vernon Knowles, the construction foreman, hand-adzed those beams so that they would have the appearance of being hand-hewn. They were actually milled timber, but Mr. Knowles took an adze and adzed them to make them look as they appear today. Yes, Donna, did you have something?
Yes, many of you may know Patsy Manuel. She's one of the daughters, and there's also, is it Verna?
Verna Wicks.
Verna Wicks. If you've heard her play anytime in Lake County, she's involved. Is she involved with the Mormon Church, or she teaches at Upper Lake? I think I ran into her recently, and I think she's a teacher in the Upper Lake High School. Just fabulous people in our community. Mr. Knowles' daughters.
Yes, I went to high school with them. High school with these girls. All right. If there's one more question, we'll take it, and then we'll dismiss you so that you can disperse and walk through our building and see what you want to see and ask questions. And then at about 12:30, we'll be ready to serve the lunch in the dining room. May I remind you, feel free to enter the dining room and look. It's a beautiful room. We hope you'll look at it and walk through the doors and peek into the kitchen. Just recognize that our staff will be back there working and trying to get your lunch. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. you're dismissed.
And here's the spot in the floor of what was the way the hardwood floors looked like and what they use as a conference room today. And also looking out the windows at the view of This is a view from the conference room above the dining room at the Lucerne Hotel. This is the 19th of April, the year 2000. And here we have the grounds, some of the continual work that's going on here at the Lucerne Hotel. The stairway that was being worked on last year when we came here by the team of volunteers from out of state. This is the side that we see from the lake. And at this point in time, hopefully, we'll be able to find some funds for the roof. I feel that our historical sites in Lake County need to be preserved, and hopefully we can find a way to help this organization maintain the facility. Thank you. This is one of the rooms, the accommodations. It's one of the bedrooms. This is one of the deluxe rooms that looks out at the lake. This is the way it looks at one of the ends of the halls, and this is just above the parking area outside the lobby. Looking at some of our guests departing from the Lucerne Hotel tour. And that's the front entrance where everybody is received in the lobby. Looking at the tower out this window. And that's a facility that really needs some work. It was never finished. And there's 3 levels within it. Great wish is that someday we can help the church see this through. And I'm saying this not as a museum organization, but as a community. That's the way I feel about it. This is Donna Howard. Thank you. Here's one of the light fixtures. This is the end of another hallway. Very picturesque, looking out toward the lake.